was it?
I've got it's about I forget, it's got the measurements, I think I've got it in here. But it had about 165 men on it.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Was it as long as the football field?
no,
Not that big.
About 3/4 of the
Okay.
field, I guess. See, we was escort for air and submarines. We escorted ships, and we went aboard at the end of '43 in California. It's a brand new ship. You know, and we went up and down the coast from San Francisco, San Diego, a trial run, finding out what everything was wrong. And all of us seasick people, we had a lot of trouble. So that's the ship. Now, when you get over in here, now here's, let me tell you about this. They had a show and tell here about a year ago, and I haven't said, I don't talk about the war much, and all of them didn't even know I was in the show. I thought, what can I take down and show? And so I took this down, and some of them thought, well, that is great. And one of them ladies said, Jack, give me some of your material and we'll start a book for it. And when they handed it back to me, they had all the stuff I had, and of course I had a lot more. I said, now is anything wrong? And I said, I hadn't done nothing. I've been going intending to do this for nearly 70 years, and I said, you got me started. And I just, so there, you can kind of turn over through there. You're going to see your papaw, I guess. I've got pictures of them. Well, here's a picture. Here it says, a crew that saved the Manlove, U.S. Navy destroyer escort. And the one who wrote this is David Witt, Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army, retired. So there's Hudson Pelton. He was the gun captain on our ship, and he saved the ship. There's no doubt he should have. Of course, I didn't get to see him. They put me aboard a hospital ship and then Guam Hospital. But there, can you see that? There he is, Hudson C. He's from Connecticut. Only two things. His nose stayed blistered all the time, and my mouth stayed blistered from the sun.
From the side.
There's the ship, and it tells about the Manlove. He was in Pearl Harbor. That was his last name, Manlove. He got killed, so they started naming a lot of ships after the people at Pearl Harbor got killed. Electrician, yeah, Cleo Manlove, born March 1901, so he's been in the Navy for a good while. There's a picture of me in my winter uniform, and there's my wife. And here's my discharge. And you may not, but I'll let you see some of the crew. And here's World War II, 43 to 45, Marshall Island. I can let you scoot that around, and you can look at it, and I can tell you things. You want to just turn it back in. Turn them pages on, young man, or pass it on.
Jack, tell us what you said when you first started talking. You talked about Pop and how you knew him in his position, and that he might have
been captain of the ship. Yes, he was real good. And one story about him included me. We had a gunner's mate, our first class, in charge of me and all the gunnery crew, and he got a letter from his girlfriend, a Dear John letter. She'd had another man and got married.
Tell me what a Dear John letter is.
Yeah, and he was mad at everybody. So I had a gun that every 3 months they rotated us around for cleaning and taking care of the gun. And my gun, I had it kind of cleaned up real good. And the boxing team come up and it was kind of flat there and they'd practice. Well, I was sitting there watching them. Kardecki come and said, Kilday, you go up and help Sawchuck fix some ammunition in some of the magazines on 20 millimeters. So I went up there and I opened up the magazine, right? There saw Chuck lady in there asleep on a sleeping bag. Ice jacket. So I didn't say nothing. I just went back down there. And Kardecki come around again. He said, Jack, did you go up there? Kilday? He told me. I said, yeah, but I didn't do nothing. I'm going to put you on report. So I had to go before the captain and give him your fastball. Kind of took, I didn't tell nobody on Sawchuck. I had to suffer for that. And then, so I asked your fastball if I could transfer to the quartermaster. Well, I'd get seasick every time the water would get rough. And on this ship, if you'll see, way up here, that's where, of a night, there's no lights. We'd have to close the portholes. Everything is up high, and that ship would rock, and I was the helmsman. And I'd get sick. And your papa told me, Kilday, when you come up here tomorrow night, you bring a bucket with you. So 2 or 3 nights of doing that, the closing up, and that ship will rock, and I'd get seasick. So I said, Mr. Maynard, could I please go back to the gunnery department? That way it's out in the wind that hits you, and that way you wouldn't get so sick. So that was one of the times with him, and you can show them the pictures over in there. And then on this year, let me tell you about this. This is a Navy Wildcat.
Listen to what he's saying now. Let's see, that's what.
Navy Wildcat plane. And we invaded Okinawa about the 3rd, was on Sunday, it's Easter Sunday, April 1st, 1945. And what our duty was, all the ships that unloaded troops and supplies, they had a port where all the ships come in and drop anchor. And they stretch nets on each side, about a half a mile or a mile. You had a picket line, we were supposed to go back and forth, in case a submarine enemy tried to get in there, or airplanes would come. Well, we was up there. They sounded general quarters, everybody had to go to their battle station. So we went up to the battle station, here come 3 Japanese planes towards us. And we thought, they'd out of firing range then. And we thought, my goodness, there's no way we can shoot down 3 planes. And it rained a lot of showers. It rained 10 minutes, the sun come out, and so as it's getting close to us, start opening fire. Well, 2 of these Wildcats come out of the clouds. That first one dived on that first plane, boom, 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 shot him down, and he just looped up. And the second plane shot the second one down, and that third one, he looped back over. He shot the third one down, and we couldn't open fire because they was close. And all we done, we just stood there. You've been to a football game? Yeah. Did you ever get excited? Well, that's kind of the way we was. Just whoopie, whoopie. We'd have hooped and hollered and clapping our hands, just like somebody had made a touchdown. Cause, well, they sure did. And then it's about the 11th of April when the plane
hit your ship.
It come down, and we opened fire on it. And just before it got to our ship, our gun crew hit it right off and kind of knocked it off course. And when the wing hit our ship, and then the bomb didn't go off, it got a little bit shrapnel went everywhere. And what was good about it, of course, it killed one. It tells you in there. And your papa was up on the bridge, and he said another plane was coming in, and I would have been over when that plane exploded. If I hadn't had a helmet on, some small shrapnel hit my leg, some still in there. They said it'd do more damage. So the part of the wing of the plane was about that long. It hit me in the head, but I had my helmet down, and it knocked me across the gun deck, and I was laying there groaning and moaning, and Pelton came and said, "Kilday, you got to get up. You got another plane's coming in," they say. I said, "I can't get up, bud." He said, "I'll help you." And he got me up to the gun. He said, "You're the only one left that can fire the gun." Well, he had the pointer and the setter, one of them turned the gun this way and the other one up and down. They was both shrapnel. They were sitting on seats, up where the shrapnel hit them. So they Pelton drug them back, and he jumped up. He had the telephone talking with the tap on him on the bridge. He jumped up in one of their seats, and he said, "Gallo," that was a little Italian, and he was a hot shellman. When I'd shove the gun shell in, it was 25 pounds, and I'd fire it, it'd kick out, and he had asbestos gloves on, and he's supposed to catch it and throw it overboard. And he said, I can't pass that ammunition, I've got to catch the hot shell. Pelton said, "You let the hot shells fall because you don't catch half of them anyway." And I always remember that. So he said, "Send up short fuse." So we sewed up about 8 or 10 rounds, and that plane, the second one, seen we was ready for him, and he just veered off and went over and hit another ship. And then they sent me and your papa and them come to visit me at Guam Hospital, and they was there, I think, when they presented me, and with a Purple Heart. And I was the only one. I kept demanding them. I wanted to go back on the Manlove, and out of the 10 or 11 of you listen, I was the only one that returned to the Manlove. So, and have you got over to your papa yet? You seen him? Yeah. And I'll show you. And here, look up here. You know who them people are? Yeah, great uncle. And there. And
It's okay.
did you tell them how you and I met?
No, I didn't tell them, and that's a great story.
Well,
You
you
want
got
to tell
time.
them? I don't think
Yeah, I worked at,
they know the
I come
story.
back and started working for the post office. And I worked at East Side Station, and your grandmother, Carrie, came in, said, "I've got a return package here to pick up." Well, I went back there to get it and come back. He said, "Al Maynard's, Hilton Head, South Carolina." I said, "I was in the Navy with Al Maynard." Said, "What ship was you on?" I said, "DE-36, man." That was the ship he's on. So she called her daddy and mom, and they called me, and here, let me pass this around here. This is what your great-grandma wrote. Louis and I had a 50-year, our son had a 50-year reunion.
Your anniversary.
Anniversary,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. And here's what your grandma wrote. We had a reunion, and your papa and me and Yelton, we had down at Pigeon Forge. And a good, funny story about that. I was the MC, and we got along good the first day or two, and then I said, "Well, ever since I've tried to get this reunion to help with Al," and I said, "I've had a cousin that lives up here in the mountains, and I said, he wants to come down here every time. I keep trying to tell him no," and so I finally said, well, you can come in if you'll promise to behave. And of course, your papa and mama, they done my bucket's got a hole in it. Here they come in all dressed up, like I told them, tell them about my cousin. That really took everybody. And they really had, Al and your mom, grandma, they really had a good.
Yeah, I love that hole in the bucket skit they did.
Yeah,
That was so funny. Yeah.
They'd done it at the church, and they was good. So that's some of the things.
Can you explain the different roles on the ship and talk about what Pop did? I called him Pop, Al Maynard.
Well, when we first went aboard, he was a gunnery officer. Then he moved up to executive officer. In other words, he was the second man in charge. And he went around and checked and kept everything up to date. And we had a boy from Texas that come up, Godkin was his name. And he was just a goof off, to be honest with you. And I had, when we was in port, the gunnery department had the gangway watch. We carried 45 on the hip, and the bow and the folks, so they had 30 rifles. Well, I went around, and we had a messenger, and I went around and woke Godkin up. He was laying up there asleep. Well, in about 30 minutes, the papa came out and said, "Kilday, I want you to go with me and let's check these men out." I thought, oh goodness, I know. He went up there, Godkin was asleep, so your papa reached over and got his gun and come back, and he said, "Now go back with me." We went up there, and he woke, "Godkin, wake up, boy, what's going on here?" Godkin, "I'll be looking at horse for his gun," and your papa doesn't have it. And I thought, so they put him in the brig a day or two. That was the way things worked.
And was that that was the punishment then?
Mm-hmm.
That was the punishment to put him in the brig? Is that what you said?
Jail.
Jail.
Okay.
Yeah. And another thing that's kind of funny, we had the oldest fellow, they made a barber out of him. And it was the after steering wheel thing. It was down below deck, way back where the it noisy and hot. And you get up in that chair, and 3 out of 4 of us, we'd go to sleep. Well, I'd make him mad, and he'd just go over and sit down. If you slept an hour, he said an hour. He didn't cut your hair as you woke up. So they all kidded him a lot, but he wasn't going to cut no hair while the fellow was asleep. And that noise, and it's hot, and you'd be sleepy, you'd just go off to sleep. And he'd just sit down and wait till you woke up.
Huh.
So is there anything, questions you want to ask? And then, of course, the ship, when we finally come into Seattle, I came home and got married and went back. They was fixing our ship. They remodeling it, put all new guns and stuff for the invasion of Japan. Well, they dropped the atomic bomb, and I don't know why they scrapped our ship. And we had a reunion in New York one year, and I think on the back of their carry, it tells all the reunion. And your grandmother helped me with a reunion here in Kingsport. Mm-hmm. Or she done the reunion. I had a heart attack and was in the hospital.
You were, weren't you? But you did a lot of the planning.
Yeah.
Oh, me. Yes, that's from our reunion.
How many people were on the ship?
Around 160 to 70.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty well crowded.
Did you sleep in a hammock or in a bed? Or?
Bed, we had three was folded up
Against the wall.
Yeah, and we in the Philippines invasion, and a hurricane hit us, and some of the World War I destroyers, the old one, they was top heavy, and they give everybody orders to turn direct into the storm. Well, they was slow and they flipped over. They must have been about 3 of them tipped over. And, you know, the fellas down below deck, they could around 300 or 400 drowned.
Wow.
And what they done, my bunk and half of us slept back aft, and they fixed a rope line up along the side of the ship. And when it was time to eat, we'd have to hold on to that to get up there, and we'd get down, and they had a big coffee pot. They had it hanging down, and that water, that coffee pot, you'd have to grab that coffee pot to pour you some coffee. And you couldn't serve none of that sandwich. They have bologna or most of the time. You eat bologna and drink coffee or one of them storms, because if you tried to eat that food would slide and you didn't just make a mess. So, it was kind of a rough life. So is there any questions I can help you with?
What was Pop like?
What?
What was Pop like?
What was Pop like, my daddy?
He was nice. The only time I seen him get kind of, there wasn't no gambling in our ship. And I was laying there in my bunk one evening, and I was off duty, and there's 4 or 5 over there. I don't know if they was playing cards or shooting dice. I had money. If Papaw come down through there, and all he done, he just scooped up the money, said that'll go into recreation. So them fellas, that stopped the gambling that night. He took the money and put it in and when we get to go ashore, after the fighting and stuff was over, the sea bees, they'd get them over there, and first thing they'd build would be a refrigeration building. They'd start cooling Pepsi Colas and beer, and you get a beer and a Pepsi Cola when you went ashore. And I'd trade my beer for 2 Pepsi. I'd have 3 Pepsi Colas. So that may be the reason I have so much time running to the bathroom now. Too many Pepsi. You don't, none of you do that, do you?
I don't think so. Well, were you drafted into the war?
What?
Were you drafted?
Would have been, but I went and joined the Navy. Yeah, they gave me a call in March, and I was a senior in high school, so they gave me a 90-day deferment. And as soon as I got out of school, I joined before they got me. And I was about to go get in the Army, and the Navy fellow asked us, why did you want to go to the Army? I said, well, you got to go home, say, 14 days before you had to report back. And the Navy, you just got to go home 7 days, and then you had to report back. So I said, that's the only reason. I'm glad they kept me in the Navy.
And so were you 18
I was
when
18,
you were 18 years old?
Yeah.
And where were you when you joined?
I had to get Chattanooga.
Chattanooga.
Yeah, they took Chattanooga. They took us down there in Fort.
Okay.
And
Not too
you-
many ships there in Chattanooga. Not too many Navy ships.
No,
in Chattanooga.
just had a,
And then you had met Louise, and did you go to high school with Louise?
yeah, that she worked at. Another story, when we come into port, landing crafts and the smaller ships, we'd have a movie set up. And one night, the fella come in he'd gone over and got our mail, and come back and he said, Jack Kilday, Kingsport, Tennessee, and the fella sitting beside of me, are you from Kingsport? I said, no, my girlfriend lives in Kingsport and works at HW. Said, what's her name? I said, Louise. Said, well, she's rooming with my wife at our house. And you just stop and think of
That's unusual.
3,000 or 4,000 miles from home. The fella sitting right beside me. He was really homesick. He had a little girl.
And how often did you get to come home?
Well,
Did you come home at all during the war?
yeah, before we went overseas.
Before you went overseas?
After we got aboard ship.
You didn't go home at all?
No.
So that was in what year of 43?
Well, 43, yeah.
Okay, and then when did you?
We sailed out of San Francisco in January, right? I don't know, headed to Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
And that was, Pearl Harbor was a pitiful place when we went in there. The ships were sinking, some of them still kind of, you can see the tops of them.
So you went to Pearl Harbor just a couple months after.
Well, in the 40s, about nearly 42, and in 43 we went.
Okay, so I was just trying.
2 years.
So it had been 2 years since Pearl Harbor had bombed.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I knew it was December. I didn't know which January you would. Okay, 2 years. It was so it still looked that bad 2 years after.
Yeah.
What
Just
was
had it cleared the main line out where ships could get in and out, and they was working trying to lift some, like like Arizona is still set there as a reminder.
Was after y'all involved in the battle, did they take off?
No, we escorted some ships down there and back and forth, and then one or two of the other islands, we was the mail carrier over. We'd, like Guam, we'd get the mail, and then we'd have to go out to the fleet. And yeah, I heard, you want me to tell you one on your path? I'll tell you. We was taking the ship out to the fleet, had the carriers and battleships and all of them, and we come up to the West Virginia, we'd pull up close and throw a line across, and then they'd shoot another line, and they'd hook the mail pouch and then pull it over. Well, your papaw had the helm watch that time, and he got in too close to the West Virginia, and he hooked and tore one of our anchors off, and it stayed on their ship. And your papaw called over and wanted to know when they could get we could get our anchor back. That guy, the old tip, he said, I don't know if you'll ever get it back. We may drop it in the middle of the ocean. So they took it back into Guam, but we just had one anchor there for about 3 months, I guess. So that, and then, I don't know, you may remember the ones from New York. They wrote your daddy about that every time we get together.
I remember that was a big joke with the group, was about how Pop lost the anchor on the other ship. How he threw it and it hit the ship. Is that what happened?
It hooked on.
It hooked on the other ship instead of going in the ocean.
Yeah, had kind of winged fins out.
Uh-huh.
And it hooked there on the side of the ship there, on where their line come in, a big metal piece, and just tore it off.
And
it was
they
rough.
teased
It was
him.
rough, and he just got in a little close. And it being a big ship, they had a big wave, and it
just took it right on
took it
up.
right in.
You were going close to each other to get the mail swap. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
The two ships were close to each other because of the
Yeah, we would line and we'd send a mail sack of mail over to them.
Right.
And a lot of times they'd send, we didn't have no ice cream machines or nothing. And most of the time them bigger ships would send ice cream back when they sent them empty mail back. And we started yelling, where's our ice cream? He said, you're lucky you're going to get out of here alive. You better just forget about the ice cream. We ain't giving you nothing.
And so you didn't have any ice cream on the ship? Not on your ship?
That was one thing they were putting on the new remodeling, that we were going to have an ice cream machine, but never did get it.
Tell the boys and Sylvia and us what you ate usually for meals. Was all the food canned food?
Well, the Navy made you believe that carrots good for the eyesight, it may be. But our ship, they'd have carrots thrown everywhere there's a hole aboard above ship, they'd have carrots or potatoes. So then they'd keep, those are the only two things that they'd keep. So we'd have carrots and potatoes, and then 2 times a week they carried over from, I guess, the Revolutionary War, or we'd have Boston beans, and they call it bread. They'd say, Kilday, you gonna get some good old cornbread. It was half sugar, you know, and us people here, we didn't put much sugar in our corn. But we had that twice a week for breakfast.
Cornbread?
Cornbread and old Boston beans. That was the one
Beans
thing
and bread.
carried over from 100 years. Now,
Yeah.
I'd say that most of the time now they've got McDonald's and different outfits feeding them. They cater everything.
Huh.
So that was, and then when the sea was rough, we just would have a sandwich and coffee.
Jack, how did you stay in touch with how the war was going? Did you get news on the war?
Yeah, they'd give us a report at the radio. They'd let us know they had Tokyo Rose. They'd put her on about every night, telling how they was with